Welcome back to another podcast. Sat next to me, current teammate of mine, the old veteran legend, the Cumbrian king, James Donaldson. What is the message, my man?
No, thanks for having me on. I know you've been trying to get me on for a while and been trying to avoid this, but here we are.
Here we are, sat next to each other. I have actually been trying to get Dono on for a really long time. He has been avoiding it, and then he purposely did his ACL just so he didn't have to come on the show. Nah, all jokes aside, the brother's coming back off his 4th ACL reconstruction, 7th knee surgery. Talk us through that. Obviously, a few months post-op now, starting to introduce a couple squats in the gym and that. How's that been?
Yeah, really good. Obviously, this process is normal to me now, doing 4. Obviously, I think it's been 7 years since I did my last one when I was at Hull Kingston Rovers, and then I kind of knew at some point that something might happen again. Not because I didn't feel right, but because I'd had that many already. Body felt good going into the game against Doncaster. It was just strange that that morning I'd had some news about some family passing away, and I decided. Georgia told me, don't go to the game today. Like, it's not good to, put your body under that stress when you're so upset and things. But I didn't want to let my teammates down, and I chose to go to the game despite what was going on at home, and turn up to Doncaster, first carry the game, and ACL goes. Kind of laid on the floor, knew straight away what was going on. Looked at the sky and thought, why today of any day? But this is obviously just the plan that God has for me to, kind of give me another challenge here. And this is just part of my journey now, and I've kind of got used to it. And ACL recovery is easy to me now. I know a lot of people probably come on. I've heard people on this podcast say that how hard work is, and yeah, it is hard work and a lot of time in your own head. That time in the gym on your own. A lot of dark places on the way, but I've got used to this journey now, and I suppose this is just adding another layer to my skin now. But the rehab's going really well. The first few weeks generally the toughest part of the ACL rehab, and getting the swelling down, not being able to get around. I've got 2 kids at home. When they're jumping all over you, it's a different sort of game. And when you're meant to be on crutches and have a brace on for the first 6 weeks, it's not quite that easy. But no, we're getting there now, and we're progressing slowly. Started squatting in the gym this week, and things are flying. In previous times I've had this injury, I've never felt this good so early. So it's all positive signs at the moment.
Plenty of experience, obviously, rehabbing that injury. But like you said, you're finding it all right. But it is tough to sort of digest and to process when that does happen, when you sort of lay there at Doncaster, and nobody likes to see that. Nobody likes to see somebody get injured. But what was the initial thoughts going through your head? Obviously, you've had such a good career. You've been full time for a long time. As you said, you have 2 kids, wife. You're going through that transitionary period. What's going through your head when that injury hits?
My mind went blank, to be fair. I just looked at the sky. I thought, why today of any day? But, it's just, like I said, it's the plan that I've been given, and I didn't know whether this was the end for me, what was to come next after this, whether I was going to play again, whether or not. But now things are starting to progress. I'm getting a bit more of that burn in my belly. I've kind of made a thing out of my career of coming back from injuries, coming back from, being at the bottom of the pile and proving myself again, and that's what gives me the hunger to get back, is prove myself over and over again and proving people wrong, showing that I can still play the level. Obviously, I chose to leave Leeds and take a step back on my rugby career and concentrate on building a future for myself with my work and things like that. And I was coming to Bradford, 100% fit and able to play my best rugby, and not being able to do that's a tough part now, and I feel guilty, to Bradford that I can't do that and be on the field and, bring my game, to help the team get to Super League. But, Bradford have been absolutely brilliant with me since I got this injury. I wasn't sure how things were going to go, being in part-time environment, with the care you get, because you hear different stories at different clubs about NHS and things like that. But Jason Hurst's been absolutely brilliant with me, and Nobby and everyone at the club have given me massive backing and been really good with me right through this process.
And that's all you want, isn't it? And I think, like, it is a reflection of who you are. Obviously, you got bad news that day. You still went out wanting to play, because that's just what your career is built on, isn't it? I think, like, from the outside in, obviously watching you play and then getting to know you as a teammate, your career is built on sort of that, just those dog efforts, those fucking nobody wants to do it, but I'll do it anyways. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's a reflection of you as a bloke as well. Is that if someone says you can't, you're gonna go, nah, fuck yeah, I can. I don't know if that's something that you agree with.
Yeah, absolutely. I love working hard, proving people wrong, and I think when I was going through the ranks as a kid, I probably did have what you'd say a talent. You know what I mean, and an X factor. And after my first two ACLs, my X factor was probably my footwork earlier on in my game. And once you can't do that, then I think it comes down to hard work. And like I said, hard work beats talent. When talent doesn't work, you know what I mean, and that's a massive part for me. Working hard and proving people wrong.
I love it. Growing up then, obviously, you're from Cumbria, a proud Cumbrian man. Do you think that was instilled in you from a young age when you were growing up? Like, obviously, it's a different part of the world to, like, big cities and Leeds and around here. It's farming territory, really, isn't it? And you're from a farming background. Do you think that was part of why you've become who you are today?
Yeah, absolutely. I come from generations. We're third generation farmers now in Cumbria. Probably from my dad's work ethic. My dad's one of the most hard working, people I've ever met in my life, and there's been times when he hasn't had a day off for 5 years straight, no matter what the weather, Christmas, birthday or anything, and I've never once heard my dad say that he doesn't want to go to work tomorrow or it's too cold outside. No excuses, no nothing, and I think it stems back from my dad and my granddad, who had the farm in the first place. And Cumbrians are a bit different. I think we're
built different.
Yeah, we are built different, and mentality is different. It's a different sort of life growing up in the Lake District, and you have to work hard for everything you want. And if you want to get out of Cumbria, you have to do something different and make sure that the hard work gets you out of there.
Yeah, 100%. And do you feel, as a young player coming through, was it the drive to get out of Cumbria or the passion of rugby, or a little bit of both? Because I know for myself, coming from Balbriggan in Dublin, like, I love where I'm from, and I love Balbriggan, and I'll shout about it till the cows come home. You know what I mean? I'm always telling people about Balbriggan and back home, and everything is better in Balbriggan, no matter what. I say to you all the time, "Oh, but you couldn't do it in Balbriggan, could you, Dono?" Do you know what I mean? But I do think that, like, I have seen people older than me, and I do see the path if you sort of don't spread your wings and leave your hometown, and that was a big motivation for me. Is like the rugby club that I was at growing up, and I seen the path for myself if I stayed at Balbriggan. That's what led me to leave. That's what led me to Rugby League. That's what led me here, sat to you right now. But I seen the path if I stayed at Balbriggan Rugby Club, I seen me just playing pub rugby, and that being in my small town and being a big fish in a small pond. Do you know what I mean? Which is grand if that's what you're into. But for me, part of the motivation was running away from the fear of that being who I ended up. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's partly running away and partly running towards my goal of my career in rugby, and partly that was just running away of that. Yeah, it was fear. Like, I seen the lads older than me, and like, obviously I was training with the first team at Balbriggan at 15 years old, like with the men's open age, which is great experience and all of that. But I said, geez, that's not for me.
No, I think like everyone has a different path to rugby, and mine at first was that I think I was a kid that was high energy, probably hard work. My grandma used to say I was like a bull in a china shop from when I was a kid, bouncing off every wall. And the scary thing is, I see it so much in my son now, Tobias, bouncing off every wall and a million thoughts at once. And rugby was my way of getting rid of that energy, calming me down from school. And it actually probably did help with my schoolwork when I was 6-year-old, and my dad took me down to Wathbrow Hornets. It was strange how it happened that the farmer over the field, who were good friends of ours, the Caddy family, they actually said, "Oh, why don't you come down to Loughborough?" And his son was really good and had a lot of potential, and says, "If you stick him one day, you'll be as good as me." And that was, my first taste of going down to Loughborough Hornets and smashing bags about and getting rid of that energy, and that was the start of it for me. And then as I come through the ranks more and more and realised that I actually had, potential to do something good, and it clicked for me one day about the effort and the hard work put into training and how much it can make a difference wanting to win in training and beat everyone at the fitness and things like that. And that was the kind of the changing point for me, that I want to take this serious. I want to be the best at it. And then I kind of followed through the ranks and got picked up by England schoolboys. Had some good battles in the England schoolboy ranks with a lot of good players in there. Owen Farrell was my competition as a kid, and he was
which is mad, really, isn't it?
Which is mad now. And we got into a few scraps and stuff like that, and he's gone on to have an amazing career. And England schoolboys was kind of my path to getting picked up. I got picked up from Wigan first at 12-year-old, and they were taking me down and showed interest in me. And it was strange that I was a Wigan fan growing up. We didn't have Sky TV at the time, so I didn't really watch the rugby on the TV. But definitely that was a team I always thought I'd play for. And as it got closer to the opportunity to sign at clubs, they had 4 or 5 chasing me with Leeds and Bradford, Warrington, and I chose to choose Bradford at the time.
The Mighty Bulls.
Yeah, the Mighty Bulls. I spent a week down looking around Bradford with Sam Burgess. I lived with him for the week, kind of seeing what life he was living and how close the boys were. And I felt like this is, I'm a massive family man, and I felt like a massive connection towards Bradford. And that was the path I chose to, pack my bags, move away from Cumbria. I remember finishing my GCSEs. Obviously, I signed a full-time contract with Bradford at 16. As soon as I finished my GCSEs, packed my bags, left. Bradford housed me with a family who was the academy kit man, Sean and Elaine, who were absolutely brilliant to me, just down the road from Modsall. I lived with them for the first 2 or 3 years that I was at Bradford, and that was the start of my journey to coming to a professional. But it's not easy packing your bags and just moving away. All your friends, all your family not around you, and starting a new life for yourself. But I think this journey's made me a better person, and definitely probably added some things to me to help me for the future.
And sort of come full circle now, back at Bradford. I relate totally to that sort of packing your bags and going. It's never easy for a young man to sort of pack up, leave home. And I think the reality only really hit me was probably, I left at 17, just before me 18, so a little bit older than yourself, obviously. My path was slightly different, but the reality didn't hit me till sort of I went back home for like the first time after my first long stint away. And I was like, all my mates were talking about this and that and all the stuff that's gone on. And I was sort of like, oh, jeez, I've not got to be part of any of that. Like, my life suddenly turned on its head all of a sudden. They're like, so what'd you do all summer? I was like, I went to training in the gym, and that was it. Do you know what I mean? I was knocking about Huddersfield all summer. Do you know,
Yeah.
what did you get up to? Absolutely nothing, really. Just ate chicken breast and went around, walked around Huddersfield and went to training. But to be able to sort of take that plunge, and it's all really full circle, isn't it? Like, you signed full time at 16. Nobby's at Bradford at the time.
Nobby was at Wigan.
No, Nobby's at Wigan.
So when I went to look around Wigan, Nobby was there. And it's strange that I've seen Nobby along the way right throughout my career. You spend a lot of time in the coffee shop up the road, so we bump into him every now and again. So I've always had a good relationship with Nobby, and it's strange how you come full circle from spending a week with him at Wigan. I went to have a look around there as well, and then now he was coming to my house for the last 2 years before I joined Bradford, trying to get me to join the club again.
Were you selling them with the brews? Is that
Yeah, I think he did like my brews, to be fair. he went to a gym class down the road and thought it was easy to come and get a coffee from me.
It's free. That's why. If he's listening to this, it's free to get a coffee off Donzo rather than go to the actual cafe. But a young man sign at Bradford. You're sort of I suppose learning the trade of rugby league. How was those first couple of years being like a full-time professional? Obviously, when's this? This is a long time ago now.
Yeah, so this was 2008. I moved away from Cumbria.
Quietly, he's a fossil still.
Bradford were just coming off the back of, a good run of grand finals. The likes of players that were there at the time were, Shantae Harpy, Leslie Vanacolo, Clem Morrison, Sam Burgess, Terry Newton, Paul Deacon,
legends of the game.
Absolute legends of the game. And, I had the pleasure to train with them people and learn some lessons early on in my career. Joe Vangenaar used to pick me up and take me to training every morning. He'd take me for my breakfast at the cafe over the road. He'd never let me pay. He says, when you've earned some good money yourself, you can buy me breakfast. And it was funny that Joe came down to training last week and I reminded him of it, that I owe him a brekkie sometime soon. So, some great role models along the way early on to learn off. But like I said, I didn't have Sky TV in Cumbria. I didn't watch a lot of Super League. I'd been to a few grand finals with the trip from Loughborough Hornets. But the thing that I think helped me early on is I didn't know a lot about these people. I know a lot about them now, but I didn't have probably the respect that a lot of people do who look at the heroes on TV. I didn't have that because I didn't really know a lot about these people, which when it come to the training paddock, I just did my thing and, wasn't scared to try and smash someone in training or do the thing that a lot of young kids are scared to do at first because they have that much respect for these people. Obviously, I did have respect for them, but I didn't know who these people were, so it was easy for me to try and put a stamp on who I was and what I wanted to go with my career and the training. For
sure, and I think it's that sort of attitude that you just need to go in and go all in. You can't be timid, especially when you're coming up through the ranks. You can't be timid in your action because at the end of the day, rugby's a game. Rugby's a game. You grew up playing it. You ended up where you were because of the love of the game. But you can't be timid when you go up to the next level and sort of let people go in front of you, because if not, you're just another number. Do you know what I mean? And you see it all too often with young players who step up to the first team, and even when I was first coming up, they end up thrown out on the wing, and you sort of need to. If you don't turn ahead, someone else will when they step up.
Yeah, absolutely. I've spent a lot of time on the Bibs team because I'm a bench player, an impact player generally most of my career. So I've spent a lot of time on that Bibs team training against the starting 13, and you have a lot of young kids in there, yourself, and you want to compete against the starting 13 to let them know that you're knocking on that door to get in the team every week. And, I'd come up to the young kids and say, don't have too much respect for this person. No, first teamers can get a bit angry if they get banged about by a young kid, but that's what we need. That's what we need these young lads to do. I've got an example, Jared O'Connor at Rhino's absolutely on fire at the moment. He used to be in my team and we used to train against each other. We used to knock, 7 bells out of each other. But it's because he didn't have respect, and he was happy to, put his body on the line in training to prove himself. And I think that's helped him to get to where he is now. And the player that he is on the field is what he was doing from a young age when he was in training. Yeah,
and you have to have that sort of arrogance about you, and it is a bit of arrogance, and it is that little bit of dog about you that you're going to just go, I don't care who you are, I don't care what your name is, I'm going to sort of stick it on you. And I think similar to you, when I came over here, I hadn't watched virtually any Super League, next to none. Like you said, I didn't have Sky. I wasn't watching. Rugby League wasn't part of my life. I didn't grow up playing it. And then when I get to these academy games initially, and people have played against each other the whole way through amateur, and they're like, oh, so-and-so's at Leeds. And I'm like, who's that? There's just another name to me. Do you know, whereas he might have been the best halfback coming through, and these lads who are saying, my teammates at Huddersfield are saying it to me, because they've been blitzed at academy and they've been blitzed at amateur since they were 10 years old by this one fella, because but to me, I don't know who this person is. I don't and it's that ignorance is bliss is sort of something special about it, isn't it?
It's a different type of respect.
Yeah.
Though in training, when you're on the field, you have to prove yourself. You have to prove yourself to your teammates, to your coach. I think you have to show that you're willing to put your body on the line, and show that what you are willing to, do for the team. And I think that obviously you can go in training and try and prove yourself, but I'm not saying respect in a bad way, because obviously we have respect for each other off the field. It's different, but I think that what you do in training definitely builds that that respect up earlier on in your career.
Yeah, and I think you're older now. When you become that more senior player, the senior players respect a young lad who goes hard. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't think anyone wants to see a young lad come through and not try their whole off. You'd rather see a young lad getting sick on the side of the pitch nearly, wouldn't you? From trying so hard rather than not trying at all. Do you know? And being a bit arrogant in that sense, thinking it's all going to come to them. Remember, young Alfie was getting sick there. Like a few months back, he was spewing it through, but the lads were loving it. Like, it's good value, isn't it? It's good value, and you actually get a bit of energy from training after seeing a young lad like proper trying hard and giving it a good crack, because that's what you're sort of there for. Do you know what I mean? You have to. The lads are sore and tired, and they've been playing week in, week out. So if you're young and you're not playing, you have to bring a bit of something. Absolutely. Do you know what I mean? You have to bring a bit of something. If you're on the bin juice team, if you're on the bibs team, you have to bring a bit of something. Do you know what I mean? I think like Paposhi's the same. Like, obviously Paposhi probably hasn't played as much this year as he'd wanted, but like, I'll give him big raps. He always brings something. Like, he'll he'll smoke someone, he'll smoke Hooley or something, and all the boys will be laughing their head off. You know, sometimes Jimmy's cheering when Hooley gets smashed by Paposhi. You know, that's what it's sort of about, isn't it? You know, when you're a little bit flat and then one of the younger boys pulls something out of the bag or pulling yarns out. You know,
absolutely. I think obviously coming out of a full-time environment to train on a night is totally different, and you use a lot of your energy, I suppose, in your working day, and then you come and train at night. It's a total different kettle of fish, and like you said, Ian, you got Paposi running over you in training, leaving boot marks in your face. Like, it's not what you expect coming to train on a night, but you've got to respect that at the same time.
Yeah, for sure. And speaking of, like, obviously that transition, me and you have spoke about this like off camera, about the transition to part time, to working all day, and it's not easy, is it? It's
no.
It's not. I think it's safe to say it sort of shook you a little bit, did it? That initial transition when you've been full time, because it shook me, and I hadn't even been full time for that long. Like, I had spent a few years full time at Huddersfield, and like transitioning to that championship, to that way of life, training on the evening, it's just so different. Like, even right down to the way you go to sleep. Like, when you've just finished training, then you get in the door, in particular in pre-season, 8-9 o'clock, you're trying to put together a dinner, you're going to bed on a massive full stomach. Like, little things like that do make a difference. Just like your routine's different, than you're getting up when you have to go to work. Do you know? But yeah, how's that been different?
It wasn't an easy decision, to step away from the full-time environment. I remember going into Brad Arthur's office to tell him that I was leaving, and at the same time, before I told him I was leaving, he offered me a new contract. So that made it that extra little bit harder, but I always had this plan of trying to build a future for myself and my family now. It's not because I'm not hungry on the rugby side, but rugby doesn't last forever, and probably worked out quite well for me to get a job opportunity before my career come to end, because you see so many players now get to the end of the career and don't have a path set for them. So when I was actually working 1 day a week for a quantity surveying company in Leeds called RLB, while I was playing full time, just to get some experience, because I suppose you get to 30 odd year old, and who wants to take on someone that sort of age with no experience? So this was the only way I could get that, and they offered me a full-time opportunity, but they were happy to wait for when I was ready. So that opportunity came up, and I chose to take it with two hands, because I don't think you get these opportunities that come around often to step away for the game, and come into an environment like it was a corporate environment, which is totally different. But as I've been working there for 2 years, I did feel like, I could see myself working there. The lads were good. We still had a bit of a crack, because I think when you're spending your time around 30 lads every day, having the crack, and how much I like the crack and ripping people, and I felt like that environment, that corporate environment that I was going in, was, made me feel comfortable, and the people that were there that were willing to put the time and effort in to help me was what sold it to me. So you know, I actually text Nobby to say that I'm ready to come after he'd been trying to get me for the last few years, and he's seen pop round for another free coffee, and that was sorted. But yeah, and it is total different gravy. You know, training all night. You know, my body clock is set to training at 9 a.m. on a morning, and then when you're trying to you know, get up for training at 6 o'clock on a night, it hits you like a ton of bricks. You know, your body's like, what's going on here? But I soon got used to it. There was a few times when I questioned myself whether I made the right decision, but I know that I definitely had, and this was just the next stage of my life. But you know, obviously there is some dark points when you step away from full-time environment, questioning yourself so many times on the decision you made. But you know, this was the best decision for me and my family going forward, and I wanted to come back to Bradford where it all started for me.
Full circle moment, eh? Be honest now, how many trips to the HR office have you had for taking the piss?
It's good there's no microphones in there anyway.
Thank God. It's different though, isn't it? I think that, like, obviously the banter and the crack that we have, it's relentless within our environment. So to actually go into a normal environment, a normal working environment, and realise that, like, people aren't used to, like, people constantly trying to get you to bite, you know what I mean? Constantly trying to wind you up. Like, that's not a normal, you don't go into work and have 29 other people who are trying to wind you up, and you're trying to just not get wound up, because as soon as you do, that's it, you're done, aren't you?
Absolutely. You know, it's totally different. I do have a good crack with the boys in there, trying to get the energy going a little bit, and but I think we'd end up in prison if we if we said some of the things that go on at training.
Donald's nickname's Old Selfish. That's his nickname. Don't ask me why.
You know why.
That's Donald's nickname, Old Selfish, if anyone's wondering. But yeah, no, I do agree with you. It's a different transition. I think that for me, like, that's obviously why I love what I do in terms of, like, online coaching and, like, trying to help people better themselves. Partly because I get to work for myself, and I can see the results of that people are getting, but I don't need to worry about, like, I suppose being in an office with anyone else or getting on people's wick, and that's sort of why I love what I do, as well as, like, obviously seeing people's lives sort of change. But I think it is important for players. How do I put this? I genuinely believe everyone needs to go all in what they do, but you do need to be aware with rugby that we're not footballers, that it will come to an end, that our body's going to be battered, and like you said, you do have that at the back of your mind sometimes, that you need to have something for when you're done, because, like, there's so many players who live on this high. It's funny, Keith said it to us the other day after London. Like, obviously Keith's our assistant coach. He's been a legend. He's been a legend of the game. Done it all in his career, and he was sweeping the sheds. He goes, "Geez, this is a bit different to when I was playing." You know, and you do see it all the time. Players go through that transition, and it's sort of like they step back and they go, "Damn, like, how good was that when I was in it?" You know, and then when they finish up, like, you see around this time of year, all the retirements, they finish up and they go, "Geez, that was the best ever." When you're playing and when you're amongst it. But you do need to think to the future, don't you? And you need to think about what happens after rugby, because it's not forever, and we don't get to run off into the sunset like footballers with millions of pounds cash in our pocket. You know, you need to be smart.
Yeah, absolutely. And there was a player, Sean Lunt, who reminded me, said, you know, there's a lot of tough times in rugby, but you've got to enjoy every moment of it. You know, it's easy to come in training and be grumpy or sad, but you don't know when your last one is going to be, and you've got to enjoy every moment of it, in the tough times and the not so tough times, you know. But that's definitely a massive thing for me towards back end of my career. I thought, I'm just going to enjoy every moment, whether it's tough or good. You know, try and take as much as I can out of it and enjoy that moment, because it is a massive change looking back on how good things were. And, you know, there's no better thing than, you know, getting back with your old teammates and reminiscing about the old times and the memories that you made together. And I think we'll be speaking about these for a lot more years to come in the future. For sure, and you don't realise you're in the good times till they're done, do you? No, you never know you're in the good times, and that's something that I think for me that I've tried to apply in my life this year in particular. And, like, I'm a constant work in progress. I'm always trying to read more things and sort of upskill my mindset
try learn a better way of being. And for me, what I wanted to really focus on as of late is being present in the moment, but actually just enjoying what I do. Because at the end of the day, like I said earlier, rugby's a game. Rugby's a game, and we play for the love of the game. So I want to get back into that state of when I'm playing my best, I'm playing rugby like a game. Do you know what I mean? I'm enjoying the game. You're just in that flow. Do you know what I mean? You're enjoying going to training, and there's always you can find a reason to be miserable. No matter what, there's always a reason. You can look outside and go, the weather's shite. You can go, I'm sore today. There's always a reason to be miserable. You know what I mean? Well, one of the what bike screens aren't working. There's always a reason to be. But then you look around at the people you meet and the memories you make, and you go, Jesus, I wish you always wish that you were back in those moments. And the lads that you play with, if you go about your business right, you're gonna have a handful of mates that you like. You'll catch up all the time, and you're gonna go, geez, we actually had the best time ever. And you'll be talking about the crack that you had and the stupid stuff that you used to do, you know. And that's what gets you through the games. Like, you remember the big games and the moments and all of that, but you're not really gonna. You can't take those to the grave with you. You know what I mean? You can take a couple memories, but the people that you get to surround yourself with in this sport, that's what makes it. That's what makes it. Me and the lads had a conversation the other day. We were saying, like, there's nothing like the going to war with to bring people together. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, I have some really good friends back home, and I've made some really good friends in my life, but there's something about sharing the field with someone and battering yourself with someone else with a collective end goal that actually brings you really close together, do you know? And then you can sit down and go, geez, that was a tough game. I really enjoyed that with you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's kind of the thing where, you know, someone's got your back on the field. If they're putting the work in for you, looking after you, you doing your job and them helping you do your job as well, you kind of get that respect off them, and it's something that you can't compare to anything else in your life, other than your close mates who you know do anything for you. But you kind of build that on the field as well, that your teammates are willing to put their body on the line for you, and it's a different sort of respect, isn't it?
Absolutely. Winding back the clock a little bit, obviously you began your career at Bradford, and you went to Hull KR.
Yeah.
What was that period of your life, early career, like? Obviously a couple surgeries in between, but what was that early part of your career at Bradford like, when you cracked the professional game, start playing, and then obviously that transition to Hull?
Yeah. I think I made my debut at 17 against Wigan. That was my debut, and I think I managed to play 7 games that first year. Then I seemed to play a lot more rugby that next year, but I think it was maybe 10 games into my second season was when my first ACL went. I remember that when that happened, I didn't even know what an ACL was at the time. I just knew that it wasn't a good injury, so that was probably the toughest rehab that I had, not understanding what it was like. And then the following season, the second game back from recovering from the first ACL, the second one went. So I knew I had that whole process again, and ever since after that, it was all about trying to come back from it. Obviously, back then, I don't think ACL surgeries was quite as simple as they probably are now for a sportsman to come back from. But obviously the surgeons are getting better. There's more research coming in now, so I think that an ACL recon is just a normal surgery now, and them getting players back quicker and quicker. But after that, it was just on about trying to hold on to a career for me. I'd sacrificed so much moving away from home to play professional rugby, something I'd always dreamed of doing. But then after 2 ACLs, it's about holding on to that career now and thinking about how this career is going to last for so long, and now I can look after my body to actually make a career of it. Because at some points it'd have been easy just to pack my bags and go home, but I still had that burn in my belly to prove myself once again and come back from that. And there was a lot of tough times at Bradford at the time. I think there was 2 administrations. We started to lose a lot of our best players. Whitehead, Bateman, Burgess, they all started leaving, and we were down to the bare bones. And that's when the money situation started coming in, where club went into admin, and we weren't sure when we were going to get paid, things like that. And when they announced that Bradford was going to, be relegated from Super League, I chose to look around and try and find another Super League club because I didn't want to let that dream, die of being a Super League player, because I do believe once you go down to Championship from Super League, it's hard to get back up to Super League. It's not an easy thing to. I think it's easy to fall to that level as well. So that's why I chose to go to Hull KR and continue my career over there. I had 4 great years over at Hull KR. We had a little bus that we travelled over to Hull.
The crew.
Yeah, with the crew for 4 years. We had a 17-seater minibus that one of the sponsors gave us. Who
have you got in that bus?
So I've got Sean Lump, a character, Nick Scruton, an old teammate of mine from my time at Bradford, still one of my good mates now. We've got James Greenrell, Ben Kavanagh. Sometimes we had Ryan Bailey, Benny Cockayne. We've had some Tyrone McCarthy. We've had some right characters in there, and some memories made, on that trip over to Hull. But yeah, some great memories over in Hull, and I suppose they were in a, it's good to see Hull KR in a great position now, because they've definitely, come through the ranks and are building the club up from bottom after we got relegated at Hull KR as well in that £1 million game. Was a real chance for Hull KR to start over again and build it up, and Tim Sheen's come in. Some great memories there with Tim, and an absolute great coach. And it was actually funny how my career ended at Hull KR, that I got told I was getting a contract, and once the season had finished, they turned around and said there's no contract here for you, which was pretty tough to take at the time, because I thought that my future was settled there. So then I was left at the bottom of the pile, really. I didn't have an agent at the time, because I've had a number of agents over my career, but there was never any that I fully trusted. And I think you're best having what comes from the horse's mouth straight to you, so you know how to deal with it, and you know exactly what's being said. So I decided to text every Super League coach myself and say, look, I've ended up in a rubbish situation here, and I still feel like I've got something to offer. I'm still hungry. And I got some real nice replies from coaches all over. Obviously, some had salary cap that were already full or completed the squads. And then I got to a stage where lads were starting to go back to pre-season training. I still didn't have a club. So I started to put myself through my own pre-season at home at the local gym every day. It was me and Chris Clarkson, which had been left in similar situations. So we went down to the village gym and trained like we were in a pre-season ourselves. That carried on a bit longer. Times got a bit darker there, because I thought, this is it. I had championship clubs calling me saying, do you want to come to work in town? Do you want to come to Dewsbury Rams? I was like, no, I'm not. I've not done all this sacrifice so much moving away from home just to go play for Dewsbury Rams. No respect to Dewsbury, but that's not the direction my career I wanted it to go. And I'd actually applied for a job with Parcel Force, because I stopped getting paid at this point by Hull KR because my contract had run out. I thought I'll apply for a job over Christmas to deliver parcels, just to give me a bit of an income. And then the day after I applied for that job I got a call from Kevin Sinfield at Leeds. Says, I don't know, it's Kev Sinfield. I says, no, this isn't Kevin Sinfield ringing me. I thought someone's geeing up. I took the mick out a lot of people, and this.
Karma's come back to get you now.
The karma did come back to get me, and I thought, this isn't Kevin Sinfield. No, he says, no, Dono, it is Kevin Sinfield. We want you to come down to training tomorrow, and we'll have a look at you. We can't promise anything. So I put the phone down. I was obviously over the moon about that. After all that I'd been through, I thought that to get an opportunity to go to a club like Leeds would never happen ever again. And then it was strange, an hour later I had Huddersfield Giants ring me and offer me the same opportunity. It might have been actually when you were there at the time, 2018-19.
Yeah, that would have been when I just coming through the academy.
Yeah, so they called me and said, would like to offer you a trial. I said, I'm sorry, I've already committed to Leeds an hour ago. they said, "Oh, we might call you back and offer you a contract if that make things different." I says, "No, I'm good. I want to go to Leeds," and I went down there the next day and never looked back. Some of the best, memories, times of my career playing at Leeds. Fell in love with the club, and I still love the club so much now, and that's why it made it extra hard to leave there, because I've made friends not just with my teammates, with the people in the office. Gary Evan had been brilliant to me while I was there. I had some great coaches. Richard Agar especially probably got the best out of me throughout my career. He knew exactly what I brought to a team and how I could bring that, which was kind of changed my the way I looked at myself and looked at the game. Kind of give me that confidence that I'd lost a lot. And then to go on and play in a Challenge Cup final with Leeds and win it, and then get to the grand final, just getting beat by St Helens a few years later, fulfilled some of them dreams that I thought had definitely sailed down the river a long time ago before I joined the Rhinos. And I always say this, Leeds Rhinos changed my life, and I honestly think that in so many ways, not just on the field, off it, with my uni degree leading to where I am now with my job. It's all down to Leeds, and I still race home from training on a Friday night. I know a few Bradford fans probably don't want to hear this, but I race home from training to watch my mates and Leeds Rhinos play on the TV on a Friday night. And I think I definitely made the right decision when I sit there and I watch my teammates I used to play with, knowing that I could still be there and be happy to watch them without being bitter or anything like that, because I chose to leave on my own terms at the right time. I absolutely love watching my teammates, and Leeds do really well.
For sure. I think I've seen a quote, I can't remember where I've seen it, that if you control the process, God controls the outcome. So you were very process driven during that time. You and Clarkey doing that mini pre-season, and to have that lack of self-doubt to when Huddersfield are coming, offering you a trial and then a contract, and you go, no, I want to go to Leeds.
Yeah.
That's one, backing yourself, and two, obviously God controlling that process for you, do you know what I mean? Or that outcome for you. You control the process, God controls the outcome, and that was the outcome that was meant for you. And I genuinely believe people have paths that are meant for them, and hearing how you speak about Leeds, and obviously, like, you and I have a lot of mutual friends that play at Leeds, and how much the lads respect you there, and how much the club respects you. I think that sort of sums up that was meant for you. And what's meant for you won't pass you if you're a good person. I genuinely believe that what's meant for you won't pass you, and I think that opportunity came off the back of being determined enough to do that pre-season, because so many people would have fucked it off. So many people would have said, I'm a club, so I'm not going to do what I need to do. As a result, they go and they get offered a trial, and they come in and they're a mess, and then, you just fade into the distance then, and you become a championship player, or you go back up to working in a Whitehaven where you're from. And listen, nothing to be said about that, but it wasn't what your dream was. It wasn't your ambition. Do you know what I mean? So you go back there and you sort of fade into the distance as another player who had a bit of talent but never really cracked it. Or you draw the line in the sand, go, no, I'm going to make this work. I'm going to make this happen. And there's nothing worse than being out of contract and going through that shit. And like you said, not having an income or not knowing where you're going to be the following year, especially when you're away from home. But having that, like I said, that lack of self-doubt, that ability to go, draw the line in the sand and go, fuck it, I'm going to make this work for me. It's that dog, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like kind of what everyone speaks about. If you have a dream and you're willing to put the work in, you can achieve anything. And I honestly believe that now. Anything you can do in your life, if you're willing to put the work in non-stop, 24 hours a day, commit your life to it, that you can achieve anything you want. Never in a million years did I think I'd go to university, because I didn't really stick in at school. Once I knew that I was going to be a rugby player, probably from 12-year-old, I always knew I'd play Super League, and kind of bin that off. But when I joined uni, I knew it was like this was a different challenge for me, as well as the rugby challenge of being good on the field. And, I put everything into, making myself better and putting the hard work in. And obviously to come out with a good degree at the same time as playing full-time at Leeds. But it was a hard work at training as well. I was like living my life, just putting everything into my careers. And I do believe that, like I said, that if you're willing to work hard for anything, you can achieve anything in your life. That's why I talk about this ACL rehab. This is easy for me now. This is easy because I'm willing to put the hard work in. I know what it takes to get back to where I want to be and get back on that field. And this is just another step in my journey, you know what I mean? Like I said earlier, to add another layer to my skin. I think these injuries do make you a better person as well. You learn so much about yourself being in your own head. And I've been stuck in my head for a lot of years with these injuries and troubles, which just makes this different sort of resilience that I've managed to build up.
100%. What do they say? Rough seas make the best sailors. If it was an easy ride, it wouldn't add anything to your characteristic, would it?
Yeah.
Obviously, you speak so highly about your time at Leeds. Just before this, we were sat down having a little blend. We're talking about how James Donaldson used to scam his own teammates to make them coffees. Imagine hearing this. Like, he's actually yet to make me a coffee, by the way. I made him a coffee. He's yet to make me one. But he used to scam his own teammates, getting them to pay for him to make coffees. What's going on there? No. Any Leeds ex-teammates of Dono, just make sure you get him back for this. Scamming his teammates.
I wasn't scamming. I was looking after them, if anything.
So Dono was running coffee club?
Yeah. No, we had a coffee club at Leeds. We were going to Starbucks every morning, probably spending 15 quid on coffee, and then we'd go for one after training, probably another 5 quid, 10 quid there. So we're looking at £25 a day drinking coffee. So we come to the club and says, look, can you get us a coffee machine? They says, oh yeah, we've got one up at the stadium. Got that down, got it plumbed in. Obviously, Cam Smith runs his own beans called Beansmith, so he could supply the coffee. I'd run the club, collect the money from the boys. 10 quid a day. 10 quid a month.
A month, all right.
To drink unlimited coffees.
Made by Dono.
Yeah. No, a lot were made by me, but as soon as I started making them, other boys started getting used to it. Tom Nicholson, Watton, Cam Smith, Nikolai, they'd all get tucked into Reece Martin making the coffees and stuff like that. So I couldn't believe how much getting that coffee machine actually brought the team together. Sounds like silly, but there was only so many times people would get like a bit funny, and if there was three weeks in that would only been in training that week, whether they get a £2.50 refund for the coffee subscription, but it was
training gives me £2.50 back.
It was hard chasing money up, so I dropped a message in the group saying 10 quid a month. You pay by 9 a.m. tomorrow, or you're not having a coffee.
I bet you get it done.
And I'd sit there and see he was trying to help himself to a coffee without paying the 10 quid and saying, get off that machine. A lot of the time it was either Tom Allroyd or James Bentley.
Of course.
So
the rich get richer.
Anyone give me a stick, you're off the coffee machine this week. And the coffee machine held the power in the end, and it actually did bring so many good times. Sat around that coffee machine on a morning, having a crack. The staff were in on it. It actually brought us together, I felt like, and hopefully Nobby said he can get us one at Bradford. So Bradford Coffee Club incoming soon.
Loading. Nobby, Jace, any sponsors listening? A La Marzocco, please. A big massive Ferrari, please, for the brothers. Thank you very much. Yeah. We'll get that blended the gaff down. Obviously, looking ahead, coming off the back of this fourth ACL, bit of like a man on a mission at the minute, in the gym and getting yourself back right. What does the future look like to you, rugby wise? Not obviously, we spoke a little bit about your career, but do you have ambitions of getting yourself back? You're nearly on 300 career games.
Yeah, I feel hungrier than ever at the moment. I think, like I said earlier, coming back from anything, has been my forte throughout my career. Proving people wrong. I still feel like I'm mentally, fresh to come and bring my best rugby. I'm 5 games off 300 career appearances, which I'd love to do, considering the journey that I've been on. 6 games off 100 Bradford games, which is something I'd love to do. But it's early days to see what position the club's in with me and things like that. But I can only just control what I could control, and that's getting fit as possible, getting this leg back. Not just for for rugby, but for the rest of my life now, because you only get, one pair of legs, so got to look after the body, and the rest will take care of itself. But yeah, like I said, I'm hungrier than ever to come back and once again show that it can be done.
Comeback season, eh? If you're talking to your younger self, 16-year-old, signed at Bradford, knowing what you know now, having been through it all, what advice would you give your younger self?
That is a tough question.
You can't say go to Turkey sooner, because
But I honestly don't know what I'd tell my younger self. I would just say, try and be present as possible, enjoy every moment, and put everything into what you're committing to in your career. Don't just go in half-assed. Do it and do a good job of it, and never let anybody tell you that you can't. Never let anybody tell you you're not good enough, because I've had that a million times, and like I said, that drives me to prove people wrong, to come back once again, and keep enjoying my career.
I think that's the key, isn't it? I think when younger players and people reach out to me, even older people reach out to me and say, like, oh, I have a trial, or I want to improve myself. I said, don't ever stop enjoying the journey.
No.
A lot of my clients say, like, oh, how do you keep turning up every single day? And I say, you have to fall in love with the process, because it's not all easy and it's not all good fun. Like when you're doing hard shit, it's not fun. But that's the beauty of it. You don't climb a mountain necessarily for the view. The view at the top is great, but if you're only chasing that view, if you're only chasing those high moments, you forget to enjoy the climb. Do you know what I mean? And he who loves the journey walks further than he who loves the destination. As I say, I butchered the delivery of that. But you know what I mean? If you're only destination driven, if you're only I want to do this, then all of a sudden you forget to enjoy the moments and the little shit. And like you said, if you can look back at your time at a big club like Leeds Rhinos and say crowding around a coffee machine, having the crack with the lads is one of the highlight moments for you. One, it's a simple way of living, isn't it? Yeah. And if you can fall in love with those simple moments and being present in those, geez, you're going to have a lot more joy than if you're only chasing the next high and the next thing, because that'll come and go.
Yeah, massive. I learned that lesson from Ronan Smith at Leeds. He was all about the process, about, you build yourself up to game day, don't you? Making sure you do everything in your prep, making sure you're doing your extras, making sure you're eating right, sleeping right, everything like that. And you build yourself up to that game day, whereas your prep takes care of everything that you do on the game day, and then comes back to Monday, knocking yourself back down to the bottom of that stairs and building yourself back up, because it's easy for your ego to take over and think, oh, we've won a game, we can get comfortable here. That building yourself up every week, making sure you're doing the process and enjoying that process as well at the same time. If you're willing to put the work in during the week, then everything takes care of itself on a weekend. I 100% agree with that.
That's the one, isn't it? You have to sometimes do a little rain check on yourself, do you know what I mean? And bring yourself back down to earth and remember, like, what got me here in the first place.
Yeah.
Because what has got you there is going to work, and then you just stack little additions on, do you know what I mean? So,
yeah.
But the foundation of every successful player and every person who I've had in this podcast who's been successful, and anyone who's had a good career, the foundation of it is hard work and graft. No one gets to the top by accident, no. You know, or no one stays at the top by accident. You might get there by accident. You might have a year where you do all right, but you quickly fall down if you don't stick to that foundation of hard graft. You know, you can see people climb quick, and they falls just as quick if they don't stick to those principles of being willing to do the shit that nobody else wants to do, and do the shit that nobody else sees. Because you can train your ass off for training, but if the other 23 hours or the other 20 hours of the day you don't get that stuff, you don't get your house in order there, you're going to quickly it's going to catch up on you.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, what you do in a way that no one sees is the foundation to everything, really. Sleep especially, like things that people probably neglect and don't really think about. Them extra, gym sessions, yourself, you've been putting a few in with Doc lately. They do add to your performances on the field that no one sees, and I think it's a massive part of the game now, but also teaching the young kids that this is part of the journey as well. What you do away from training and how you look after yourself is different.
it's changed a lot in a short period of time, I suppose. Nailing those 1%ers is a lot more talked about now than probably it was in the past. And even as long as I've been involved in this sport, it's just everyone's getting more dialed into it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you have to. Competition's getting harder and harder, and it's making it harder for people to make it to Super League, especially with them probably raising the overseas players as well. It probably knocks that down for opportunities for them young English players coming through. So I think you've got to do everything you possibly can to make sure you're in the best position to play your best rugby on a weekend.
Absolutely, and I suppose that is an interesting point about the quotas rising to 10 next season. It's going to be difficult for young English players and people who live around here to sort of come through the system. But I'm a big believer in when the tide rises, all boats rise with it. So if the competition gets better,
Yeah.
and the standard of players within the competition gets better, then it all filters down. Do you know what I mean? And the standard in which you need to do to get a crack is going to go up, and what you're watching on the TV is going to be better. So it's difficult because if it's managed right, I believe if the product's better and everything improves, the standard of player coming through will improve with it. You know what I mean? So it's not just you're not just getting a crack because you came through the system and there's no one else. Do you know what I mean? It's going to help improve the game. And listen, I think that there's so much more room for growth for the game over here.
Absolutely.
Do you know, I think it's an exciting time on the horizon. 14 teams coming into the mix, and obviously more overseas players, but that hopefully can bring a wealth of knowledge as well and help improve the standard of competition. But it's I suppose all to play for in the future, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. We don't know what the future holds at the moment, do we? But I'm sure we'll find out in this next month or so on where the Super League's going and what direction it is. And it's hard for players that are part-time to not know where their future lies, really. And it's going to be interesting.
A lot to play for, I suppose, and a lot to look forward to.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot to look forward to.
James Donaldson, that was a serious message. Thank you, my man.
Always my mate.